Good morning. It is November the 11th, and I do not have the correct image up here. Bears hammer Bitcoin lower. Are we seeing a continuation of the weekly downtrend? Let's jump into the episode here today after a November 11th moment of silence. A moment of silence for all of those who lost their loved ones in war and craziness that government puts us up to. Pre-roll. Let's get into the disclaimer. This isn't trading advice. The theme for today's show is that I really cannot tell the future. Let's jump into Bitcoin technical analysis in 10. We'll come back to this in a little bit. We'll wait for my memory in my computer to load up here. Looking at the weekly relative strength index, things still look kind of bullish. So long as we're not breaking below this downtrend here, then we're good to go. Let's zoom in and start to see what happened overnight, because we're now seeing all sorts of, we've been pointing this out for a while, these exhaustion candles and basically the pissing off the roof formation of bleeding prices going down. And we'll want to pay attention to the relative strength index. Breaking below these levels is certainly bearish. And as we zoom in and we take a look at this, there is little bits of bull hope left, but it's pretty sketchy. Let's zoom in. And it always looks worse before it gets better. But this support line all the way through history is really important still. That the RSI has held itself here is a little bit of hope for the bulls, and that we still have a sort of a positive divergence here is still a bit of hope for the bulls. But as we're getting in closer now, we're starting to see these exhaustion candles. We see the 1, 2, 3 top formation all the way along here. Prices broke below it, and then they came up under it and didn't cross higher. And I was noticing this yesterday, saying, but I was still expecting it to go higher through this period because of the change of the relative strength index here that was so similar. But as we see further in the episode, we just didn't have the same volume come through from this movement to this movement here. It just didn't have the follow through, and it petered off afterwards so far. Let's continue to zoom in on this, because I want to identify where was that clear break moment that we could have seen ahead of time, that we could have known to be watching for. And there it is. It's clear. The relative strength index breaking those levels, coming out of this trend. It's a little sketchier now for me in this time frame, but we can see a negative divergence setting up here as well. So the signs were there. Now, this is let me clear this off, zoom back just a little bit. This is a larger 1, 2, 3 formation now. Right, we have the 1, 2, 3 here that it broke below. Now we have a 1, 2, 3 that it has broken below. And so the more that these nest, the more powerful that they get. That it broke below these levels is very bearish, except that we have the divergence here. So let's see how this plays out now. I'm going to go into the next indicator, go to the 5-year view, and bring the indicator up. Here is the volume. Let's do the right view. So from this point, we're looking for the volume to turn around, of looking, anticipating. And when it did this move up here, and we had this big candle, that was, I figured, a big change in turnaround. But not yet. It didn't have the follow through. It's still falling off of this pissing off the roof formation. Thank you again, Crypto Sniper, for that chart formation name. So yesterday we were definitely going through and saying, I'm expecting it to be bullish. I'm wanting it to be bullish, but the on balance volume is a negative divergence, and didn't put enough weight into it clearly, because the negative divergence here just wasn't showing the volume as we picked up here. As I said, look, we're just not getting the juice. We got to pump up the volume. Now, as we're zooming in closer, I was wanting to see the nature of this buying volume yesterday, and noticing that even though we made this move up, it was on pretty crappy volume compared to what we had from a similar situation before. So that it just didn't have the juice and is now easing off. We'll just continue to pay attention to what is the juice now at the very front edge of this. Dumping, and we were saying, okay, it's less dumping, a little bit of buying here, so this is the first bit of it, but it wasn't enough juice. And now we've taken some more selling that's pretty similar to what we had here, and we have lower lows. And we'll just observe that volume as time goes along, because it really isn't a predictive indicator. It really does just show us what is happening, and that is the data. Let's go on to the next indicator. Now I'm going to zoom out, and I thought I was already. The weekly view is pulling back still. This has been bearish for, well, since this crossed here. It's been bearish. Then on the daily time frame, it also did a cross and a cross here off this double top. So we had the divergence. It was pretty wicked. We saw the divergence setting up here. It was pretty clear. And then prices have come up and they've crossed to the negative. What I'm watching for now is the break of the uptrend line in this MACD. So when it's crossing these trend lines, I want to know, especially since the daily has crossed to the negative out of this 1, 2, 3 top. We were observing this. I was expecting that the strength of everything else would pull this into a positive. Same with the 12-hour. It was negative all the way through. It crossed here in the middle of the 1, 2, 3. There's no denying it. We're talking about this for days and still feeling that this may go up. Still feeling this way, still feeling this way, still feeling this way, even though we're having that same formation setting up. So as this crossed, can't be in denial of the 12-hour crossing. It has predictive power. Go into the 4-hour crossing, and this is where I was getting myself excited, because this was a flat bottom and a flat bottom. We had the 4-hour cross to the positive. We had the 4-hour cross to the positive here. And so I was expecting it. As it came going up, I was going, yes, I nailed this one. And yet the volume wasn't strong enough. So while I got a long in and I put my stop above it, it's another story, sort of like this one here, where I got my long in, put my stop above it, and just got kicked out right away. It didn't follow through and give me any juice. So this one, that's trading. So long as you are getting your stop above your entry, then that's trading. That's what happens. Let's go into the 1-hour time frame, because this crossed right out of this little 1, 2, 3 top formation. It gave it to us. I was asleep. It was just after I made a video last night about this. It was just afterwards that this crossed over and went negative. So gotta be prepared, because all of this happened while I was asleep. And then I woke up in the morning going, oh, well, that's completely different than what I went to bed at. Let's zoom in more. We're on the 1-hour time frame, 15-minute time frame. Is it going to give us any juice from here? Well, hard to say. It's broken below the 1, 2, 3. And so it has to build back up above these levels. Much as yesterday I was saying, we really have to build up above these levels to get a really true bullish setup. That it was below this support and resistance level and failed to break higher is bearish. And there we go. Down it went. Didn't have the volume with it. Crossed to the negative. It told us all in advance this was happening. Let's go to the next couple indicators. Here's the weekly view of the Ichimoku Cloud. And if I get rid of the price level, we can see that the cloud is still expanding. Blue is still expanding away from the red as we're looking at that. Let's zoom in closer. On the daily view, this was giving us a little bit of juice. It was actually looking like it has the potential. It still has the potential to be a turnaround positive move. The blue is above the red. This is twisted to the positive. Our trailing indicator is pretty much through everything else so that's still not bad. The 12-hour time frame did cross negative earlier. We saw it. It was there. Out of this potential triangle formation, and as it was breaking down she went, and here I was rationalizing. Let's zoom in now, because the Ichimoku Cloud was kicking ass, and I was leaning on the other indicators more than Ichimoku Cloud again. So here, it kicked my ass. So we've got the formation. It's clear. The twist of the cloud happened. The crossover happened. We had the twist of the cloud. It is still negative. There's nothing set up positive in this for the Ichimoku Cloud. And let's go into the 1-hour time frame, because the 1 hour was more difficult to deal with. It didn't give us the signal. It was a trailing indicator. It came in afterwards. Here again, it trailed afterwards. It blew through, and then it was starting to show us positive. So yesterday and the day before, I was sort of discounting Ichimoku because of how this had blown through it so quickly. I was expecting that it would be blown through again that quickly, and that we wouldn't, and I discounted this cross to the negative. Let's pay more attention to that. Here's in the 1 hour time frame, and on the 15-minute time frame across to the negative that we did see yesterday before this broke. It was there clear enough before I made this video that on the 15-minute time frame that was crossing over before the 1, 2, 3 broke lower. So Ichimoku, I bow in your general direction. Here, even on the 5-minute time frame, it is still bearish. It has still not come through that cloud to give us any kind of turnaround. Sure, there's potential 1, 2, 3 here, but it's not giving us the juice. And I'm not seeing the big turnaround in the other indicators either. Now let's finish it up by looking at the Bollinger Bands. Yesterday, I was pointing out that the Bollinger Band midline is pretty important in the weekly. If I pull this chart back where we can see it, we can see that in the downtrend, the Bollinger Band was like the weekly is below the midline of the Bollinger Band. When we got above that and we stayed above it, that's when the real uptrend happened. And yet we are not above it yet. So we are not really in the real uptrend. We had a bit of it. It's poked down below out of this 1, 2, 3 top, came up and retested from below and failed down on the weekly. On the daily time frame yesterday, I was looking at that. Oh, look, it's recovering back past up the midline. That's good, but it bounced off that and failed down on the daily. On the 12-hour time frame, it's pushing against the edge of the band right now. So now I'm in observation mode. I don't know. Is it going to go sideways? Is it going to go down more? I really don't know. Let's zoom in. But of course, the 1, 2, 3 top formations are pretty bearish. So though I don't know, I do have these patterns that when the 1, 2, 3 top formation fails, and it fails from underneath, these are both sell signals. And they're sell signals that I'm not making up after the fact. This is stuff that we've been talking about for a long time, upside down or right side up. This is the 1, 2, 3 formation. You can take a signal on the break or wait for the retest of the break and take a signal here. Just textbook, perfect. Harder to do on the 4-hour time frame. Let's get a lot of noise here. So now I'm observing again what was going on in the 4-hour and the 1 hour. I got off track here. So 12 hours against the bottom, but the 4 hours against the bottom of the band. But yesterday it had gone up through the midline. And so I was sitting up on top of this going, oh, now that's really good, right? We came out of this bottom. We've come up past the midline. This is setting itself up pretty good. I really like this setup actually. And the 1 hour time frame held it pretty good, touched against there, and there's our top formation. Had to be ready for it with the for me, the MACD, the Ichimoku Cloud first gave us the bias. Gives us the bias, bullish or bearish. And then looking at the MACD crosses gives us a specific point along with the relative strength index. And I would have to say that the on-balance volume adds to the bias. So we should start off with the Ichimoku for the bias. We should go to the on-balance volume to confirm that bias. And then we should be looking at the chart pattern. And finally, we should be confirming by looking at the relative strength index, the MACD indicator, and finally the Bollinger Band. And I'm going to rearrange the order of things to reflect that. So I will drag Ichimoku first. And then second, we'll go through the on-balance volume to see if that is confirming or not. Then we'll go into relative strength index. And then we'll do MACD, and then we'll finish with Bollinger Band to see if it confirms. And that'll be our new order. Now here is looking at Bitcoin price, Bitcoin shorts, and Bitcoin longs. So through this period, as the big move up here, we could see that Bitcoin longs actually went down through this period because they were taking profit. Let me get this lined up properly. Because the longs were taking profit here. Then there was a bunch of FOMO, then there was a bunch of fear, then there was a bunch of FOMO. And now it appears we're back into a fear stance, and as this is pulling back, the longs are closing their positions on balance. And I just want to observe this and then go into the next chart here to see Bitcoin. We had this move up here yesterday, and it was a big kerfluffle. Look at Litecoin had a big, huge thing of volume, and I thought, oh, this is the turnaround. Bitcoin's taking off. The alts are going to be pulling back. Now, the alts have rejected that. Ethereum did much the same thing, but it has pulled back up. Ripple did much the same thing, but it is holding pretty steady. And if we go into Bitcoin dominance overall, we can see it is dropping, which means that alts overall are doing better. As Bitcoin's doing what it's doing, alts are actually doing better versus Bitcoin. Still inside this major top formation, I'm still watching it, and certainly if the alts are breaking out of their formations and this is coming down, no matter what Bitcoin is doing, the alts are the place to be. It's not a matter of which one is going up more than the other. It's the relative move between one and the other, with the assumption that long-term altcoins are going to be like changing the world. Bitcoin, the altcoins, is going to change the money in the world. So I just want to go back and forth from alts to Bitcoin to alts to Bitcoin and grow my overall number of digits. I'll let the future US dollar value take care of itself. I assume it will. And now that pretty much wraps it up. Let me go to the chat, which I haven't looked at. I can totally have trouble getting this chat to work in the live stream. And I downloaded the Streamlabs OBS software thinking if I use their software, it'll work more reliably. And no way. What a pain in the ass. I still haven't found out why that's not working properly. So I can go over to the regular chat here and say, Trader Rituto, haven't seen you around in a while. Hello to Italy. Rick, good to have you along. Not much volume. Yeah. Hello from England, Mr. Adikool. Good to have you along. The indicators are now, okay, let's see. Always love the 1, 2, 3 and the pissing off the roof. Yeah, I didn't love it in the past, but I'm getting more used to it so that I can anticipate it and get on the right side of it instead of getting pissed on. The indicators are now more or less neutral. Perhaps it'll push down a bit more, hit the 84.50 and then shoot up. Who knows? But better to be quiet and see which way it goes. Certainly, the trading signal of when to get in is and when to get out are the least important things in the trading plan, because those are things where I am assuming that I'm correct when I find those. I'm assuming that I'm correct. I'm assuming that from all of the unknowable variables in the price movement, I've got it right. There, that's pretty egotistical, and it is a mistake in trading. Every time that you think you are right, you are on the wrong side of the trade. No matter if the trade goes your way and you're profitable or not, if you think you are right, you are going to make mistakes in your trading. Instead, there are so many variables we can never plan for. Never. You just cannot plan. There's too many people trading Bitcoin. There's too many government policies. There's too many random manipulations. There's too many hacks there's too many variables we cannot know. We can't assume that we are right. Otherwise, you take a long position and you put your stop loss down here, perhaps, and the market proves that you are not correct. You get a big loss in this. And worse, of course, if you're not trading with a stop loss and you assume that you are correct, that's the worst part. So the risk control is the most important part of trading. And I had to lose all of my money more than once. The first 3 times I started trading in the first 3 years, every time I started out, I put in a couple $1,000s, I would lose it all. A year later, I got another couple $1,000s, put it in there, lost it all. The third time I got a couple $1,000s, put it in there, I lost it even faster. And I thought the gods were against me. Every time I put on a trade, it went exactly against me. Every trade. You think it's supposed to be 50-50, you just roll the dice, and every single trade I did in those first years, every one of them went against me. And I didn't learn about risk control until after that. So it's still something that I have to practice all the time. Greed and fear at the right times. When I think I'm right, I'm greedy. If I think I'm wrong, I'm fearful. And often that's the better place to be, is to be fearful, start off small, and then add on when you're correct. So fortunately, I had a long here. I put my stop loss in, I left the market do its thing. It came back and kicked me out again. Okay, so now I have more work to do. This is the piss off for me, is that it's a lot easier if you can get into a trade that's correct. Then that's the market's job, and it's not my job. I can take some time off. Now I got to be back watching the market again for the next signal. Stressful. Anyway, let me go back to the chat here. What's up, Doug? Bitcoin ran and I tried to hide, but the pressure is clearly to the downside. Yes, that 1, 2, 3 didn't give us any time on this at all. And if I go, I've got these out of order now. I have to relearn my order. The 1 hour and the 4 hour were the big ones for me. So I was watching through this period of time here because it was very similar to what was going on here. As the 4 hour crossed, I was super bullish and I went long. It made sense. And as I zoom in now to the 1 hour time frame, we can see here that earlier the 1 hour time frame crossed early in this sideways, had our little sideways here, and the 1 hour crossed early in that as well. So the only thing that was different in that these took off and the 4 hour crossed and it was looking really great right here, got my stop above my entry so that the only thing that wasn't cooperating was the volume. There wasn't enough volume. And then when we came up under these levels, this is the 1, 2, 3 formation, right? You could sell here or you could sell on the fail of this level. So as it was coming down below these levels, I didn't have it clearly identified that, okay, it's coming up to a potential sell signal. If it is a sell, what would I need to do? Because I was looking for the potential for this to be going up and drag everything up and go up from here. I wasn't anticipating and wasn't planning for both sides. So even though my stop did me well because of my risk control rules, I wasn't ready for exiting at the proper time. So it's just a matter of studying all the time, studying, restudying. Now that it is below these levels and cross to the negative here, I got to anticipate more down. Like it's just, I got my bearish view changed when this flipped up. But as soon as we are crossing back over these levels and changing direction now, I've got to be short-term bearish. I can't be long-term bullish until we get this formation cleaning itself up. And really, that 5,800 level comes up again for me. Go to the log view, pull it back. The log view, pull it back, drag out this long trend line. It just fits too nicely, and that we have come off the top here in this pissing off the roof formation makes it pretty much more likely that we could be coming off of these levels. No way to know except by zooming in and watching these 1, 2, 3 formations playing out. Certainly this level right now is also super key. The daily view is crossed to the negative. So this is definitely a negative setup here now. The daily view is crossed to the negative. The 12 hour is negative. The 4 hour is just crossing negative, hasn't yet. So that this is still above, it gives a potential for this to hold itself here. And the technical levels are good too. So still a little bit of potential. And how would we see that coming in? First of all, there we go. We would have to see this exact kind of divergence in the very short time frame. Now let's go and see what the prices are doing, because this is not enough. But this is how it starts, to see this divergence setting up. So there is enough of a little bit of a divergence. We do have the 1, 2, 3 formation setting up here. So as it starts to stage up above these levels, I'll change my tune and I'll say, okay, it's catching itself. And this was just a stop hunt to get all of these longs down, right? We've hit a whole bunch of long stops. I don't know. Let's go back to this chart. My memory is overloaded here and zoom back in. This is the relative strength index, also showing this divergence. Let's tune in later. Be sure to come over and join us in our Discord chat, because we'll follow along with this throughout the day as this changes. We had guys posting through the night last night as this was going. We had some of the guys in our Discord chat posting. So come on over. We'll keep track of it all day. So we had a fire truck going by. Now, Rick, has asked, Doug, would you take a look at the weekly Bitcoin RSI? I just happened to be on the Bitcoin RSI. And take a look at the end of June peak here with this exhaustion wick. And comment on the RSI as a whole period if it looks bearish or bullish to you. For my own part, I've been a blind bull watching for where does the bull come in more than where does the bear come in on all of this. And so for the weekly, the bearish was right off of this divergence here. And of course, as we have these three exhaustion wicks and the weekly broke these levels, I'm certain that at this time we were talking about that very thing, because I did take a short there and make 100% profit as we went down this way. So it was a great trade for that as all of this broke and all of our indicators were going negative at that time. It was pretty clear. For me, it's the support here that has been giving me the feel that perhaps this is bouncing from here and going to do another test up to higher levels. And there's clearly no way to know, and I really don't know the future. So hopefully that is what you're looking for. But the weekly view is always backed up by zooming in. So here we have the divergence in the daily. We had the top, as we're going up, it was diverging all the way along, telling us that that's a peak when it comes up to this level of RSI. It's a peak. And then it did this double top and lower levels all the way along. It gave us the bearish view, especially right here as it was breaking below the midline. All of these trend lines become important. Then it's the super oversold condition that becomes important. But more than that, then all the way along, it's these trend lines, the break of the trend lines in the RSI. That is the most important thing. And you'll see it coordinates with the chart. Just amazing. So did I catch the break of the trend line for this one? There's the break of the trend line. Whether I caught it or not is, I'd have to go back to yesterday's video and say, okay, is this a diverging top? Did I notice it on the 1 hour time frame? Did I comment on it? Did I notice this was a pretty good divergence setting up here as I was looking for bullishness? Did I expect this? Yes, I did. Actually, I expected that this was a pullback and then would be a spring forward. So I was seeing this spring. I was seeing this as a spring. And as the top formation broke, I was asleep. So I wasn't there to change my mind and to say, oh, the 1 hour MACD is crossing negative. The 1, 2, 3 top formation is breaking lower and the RSI is breaking the trend line. So those three things put together, especially when we already had the Ichimoku Cloud giving us the bearish bias. Right, on the 4 hour time frame, let me get this. It had already given us the bearish bias. So it's just a matter of putting all of these things together and then using your risk control rules. Hey, Aaron, good to have you along. BTC to $50,000 in 2020. Yeah, it could be a while yet before it goes. This was an important movement. It's not done yet, but that it didn't break above these levels is really important. That's a big turnaround. That's a big pissing off the roof formation for sure. So Claudio, good to have you here. I learned a lesson, I guess. Well, there's no end to learning lessons in trading, and even if you do learn the lessons, there are all the cousins of those lessons. If you haven't already, go and get the book Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. It was written back in the 20s and 30s or something like that, 1920s and 1930s, like 100 years ago. And it has all sorts of information in there that absolutely applies to cryptocurrency trading. If you are planning to do a life of trading and you want to open yourself up to the potential for the unlimited income that this does represent, read that book. It's not a dry educational trading book. It's a very entertaining life lesson book. More than trading entries and exits, it's more about philosophy of how to approach the markets and how the guy went learning about it from a youth all the way to becoming a multimillionaire wiped himself out, lost his money, went bankrupt, went and built up his millions again, paid off everybody he bankrupt from, really amazing story of rags to riches and rags to riches, life lessons that you really should be jumping in and checking out. Now, Bitcoin is doing something here while I'm talking. It is making that 1, 2, 3, and it's poking through the cloud. We'll continue to watch this in our Discord chat, but let me finish up the chat going on here. Zeus was against you. Yes, indeed. My buyback is 83.40. My target is 82.45. Good to have the entries and exits. There's a philosophy that I'm studying. The exits. I try not to have an exit target. I try to only do risk control and get my stop above my entry, and then I try to leave the rest of it up to the market. And so how do I decide when to get out of a trade? The best trades I've done, I waited until the 4-hour EMA and the 12-hour EMA crossed over. So the best trades are always the ones that I did the least work on, that I let sit the longest. It's amazing. And so I try not to set profit targets. And I find that even in our trading alerts, let me go to one here. Okay, here's our trading alerts. And this is some of our most profitable trades that we're holding right now. 40%, 21%, 36%. And we can go into these screenshots. Let me share this in the chat so that you can check them out with me. We can go into these screenshots and see the day that we had this alert go out. Here's a 199% for RLC. So I'll bring up the chart for RLC. And you can see here where I've got an entry at the bottom of the box, a profit target at the top of the box, and then a stop loss at the very beginning of the trade where the stop loss would be. This all changes after the trade is up and going. And now that it's up to 100%, let's go and take a look at RLC chart over on Binance. It'll be around there. I don't want this chart though. Binance. Filter by Bitcoin. Go down to RPQR. RLC. 1 year view. Clear off the crap. So RLC did a beautiful 1, 2, 3 bottom formation here. We identified it back in October. We got our stop loss above it. And now, while I had an initial profit target to put on the trade, now I take that profit target off. I don't want to take that profit when it hits the profit target. I want to wait until the market tells me that I should be getting out. I don't want to get out when I think I should. How do I know? I have a hard enough time getting into good entries, never mind also nail the exit. I want to leave error on the side of the fact that these could be going way higher. And so I don't want to get out by my own thinking. I want to wait until this, look at this, the 4-hour exponential moving average. It didn't cross. I didn't get out. It looked like a top formation. I figured it was a top formation, but it didn't cross, so I didn't get out. That's the way these things are, I try to do. And so now I just continue to move my stop loss up after it, and I'll wait for the market to tell me that it's done. And I won't make as much, right? This is the profit I would have made if I sold at the very, very top. And if it had come down from here, I would only make this much profit. It's true. That is my aim, is to make that profit in the middle. After the bottom turns up and after the top turns down. So if you are doing profit targets and say, I got a good entry here and my profit target was 1, my second profit target, my third profit target. Now I can go dancing around the internet saying all of my trading alerts are so good. Look at, we hit all of our profit targets. And then you are sitting there with 200% profit while it goes up 1,000. And you've missed out on 800% of the trade because you set your profit targets at the beginning. And who are you to know how high it's going to go up? So I try to approach the entries and the exits differently than I see with all of the other signal services out there. I see them all following the Binance protocol where you've got target 1, 2, 3, and then you're stuck. You've got to start all over again and over again. And if we're in a big trend, you've killed yourself at the beginning of a big trend, and you're not going to make the big money you should have. So read the book Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, and it'll help you build that same picture in your mind of the longer term view of trading rather than the short-term day trading and short-term trading. So hopefully that helps. We are a long triangle descent without doubt. Yes, it is looking that way. And yesterday it was not looking quite that way. This big candle on the 25th, not enough data. This big candle on the 25th still has changed my view. This has not reversed enough. This has come back a little bit in some, but I still believe that this reversal was significant and we're not done it yet. I don't think this is, and I absolutely could be wrong. This does look like the pissing off the roof formation. It is a 1, 2, 3 top formation fail. And I still think it's going the other way. So I'll know better as this fails more and more. Below these levels, then okay, I can't hold on to that idea. Fortunately, I follow along with what the alts are telling me to do. So I look at this November bull market watch spreadsheet, and when things go bullish, I get it. When they go bearish, I get out. So though I may have my opinion, it may not be exactly how I'm trading. I trade according to the rules, though I am commenting on this stuff so that I can study it later. Let me go back to the chat here. Still no trading volume now. Let's stand back. Your yesterday's analysis was right. It did go up, but no volume. That's right. The volume was not there. Just probabilities. So let's see. Don't forget to join our Discord. Join our Discord, no Jack Low Jack says. Yeah, we got 32 people watching at the moment. How many likes do we have on the video? I haven't been checking that, but I always like that. I appreciate it. If you like this analysis and you'd like this channel to grow, you have the control button. It is under your finger. You can hit the like button, you can hit the subscribe button, and those are the two main things that help this channel grow because it shows Google that you appreciate the content. YouTube, rather. Okay, let's go. Thanks. You made some great points on profit targets. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope it helps. Toxic Green, good to have you along. One person doesn't like waiting to take higher profits. There are two mistakes that most traders make in trading. The mistake at the beginning of the trade in stage number 2 and the mistake in stage number 3 of the trade. So the mistake at stage 2 of the trade, if you've gone over to the website, this will make more sense to you. If you go to the website, click on the home page, scroll to the very bottom and put your name in, well, not just your email address. Scroll to the bottom, put your email address in, and you'll receive the free webinar that teaches this complete system. You'll understand what I mean by stage 2 of the trade and stage 3 of the trade. And if you don't understand, go and get the webinar. I'm going to be sending out the book that goes along with the webinar here too as well, so that you have all of the information you need in order to make the most of what I'm talking about here. Then you'll understand that stage 2 of the trade is where I make most of my mistakes. And stage 3 of the trade is where I make the second most of my mistakes, which is I'm greedy at the beginning of a trade, and so I put on too large of a position with too much leverage because I think I'm right. And that's the biggest mistake right there. The second mistake is to be fearful when you have profits. Fearful that the market is going to take these profits away. So used to putting on a trade and it turns into a loss. Finally, you have a good profitable trade and you just want to take that profit because you're afraid the market's going to take it away. So you're being fearful when you've been proven correct, and you're being greedy before you've been proven correct. And those are the two biggest mistakes, the greed and fear, the killer mistakes. And if you want to read more about that, you can get my book on it. It's included with your Bull Market Watch spreadsheet access. So you can see exactly which coins should be in your portfolio. You can see it with our color-coded spreadsheet. You get knowledge that you can apply to your cryptocurrency trading. You get objective measure with the altcoin cycles, the objective measure that I use in my own trading. More than my own opinion, I follow these objective measures. You get access to special areas in our Discord community, and you get a once-a-day email summary of this spreadsheet. All of that for just 15 bucks a month if you pay with crypto. And if you join and you use the coupon code MINNOW when you're paying with crypto, you save an additional 20%. Nothing else out there like it, but it's not just blind color coding. It comes with information. It comes with training. You get the trading plan, you get the webinar, you get the book that goes along with it, in addition to my ultimate BitMEX tutorial and how to overcome fear and greed. So tons and tons of great stuff inside here. More important than Bitcoin dominance. We're going to tell you which of the coins to actually hold, not that you should be holding them. Fantastic stuff. I'm a big fan. I have the book on Jesse Livermore. Yes, it is a great book, and it is something that I read over and over again. I have the great fortune of teaching this course that I've put together since 2015. And every time I go through and teach that course, I repeat all of these things into my mind. It's like a black belt karate student going back to the beginning classes and relearning those beginning things. It's always important. Fundamentals, fundamentals, fundamentals. Now let's jump back into Bitcoin price and see what this 123 is doing, because as it's building or failing, I want to track it. I want to track what is the RSI doing? What's the MACD doing? How about the Ichimoku Cloud? What's the Bollinger Band telling us all the way along as this is happening? I was long, I got stopped out. I'm watching now. I have Bitcoin, I have altcoins, so I'm, just watching along to see what goes on with this and looking for another place to put on a trade. I'll sign off for now, and I'll see the rest of you guys over on our Discord chat, because I could go on about this all day, and I do. But over there. Cheers. Bye for now.